It's another Manly Monday, the final Manly Monday of 2024. And just letting everybody know, we talked about it on the Discord. We are going to stream the announcement of the winners for Year of the Game, our annual cope for the year that was in video games, on my Twitch channel tonight. So if you're around 6 p.m. Eastern tonight, tune in. Whatever time's left, we'll go back to Veilguard. Okay. As of the voting is now closed, so you can't vote yet because I have to put together the presentation. But yeah, we're trying to do this serious. No, nothing serious about this. But what is serious is the excitement about the trailer that James Gunn dropped last week for Superman. And I am a big Superman fan. I'm wearing a Spider-Man shirt today. I wasn't quite planning on talking about this. I'll talk about the deep dive that led me here after I do the help support this channel. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. If you like Manly Monday, if you enjoy the fact that there is nuance in the discussions we have about men's issues and masculinity, it really helps if you kick a few bucks my way. Talking on the server, someone... Oh, and if you become a patron or a coffee supporter, you get access to the Discord. So that is good too. And that will be coming up. I usually do it around the 5th of January of every month. That's when the money comes out of Patreon. So yes. This started by someone linking in the Discord me to the Rudyard Kipling poem If. And this poem, I hadn't read it in a while, but the person on the server was like, this seems relevant to what you've been going through lately. And if people don't know, If is sort of a poem about the impossible ideals of masculinity. The first stanza is, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. And it goes on from there. It's, I'll just read the whole thing so you can see how my brain spiraled from this to Superman, okay? If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build him up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve you long after they're gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will, capital L, which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. And, you know, you think about that, and the line that gets most quoted from this poem is the first one. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs. It leaves the and blaming it on you part out. And when you think about this, I believe this was written or published in 1910. And when you think about this snapshot of masculine ideals from 1910, and then you think about the people going, we should go back to the way it was before. And those are the people bleating and whinging all the time. I just want to sort of smack them with this poem. But thing about this poem is that nobody can do this. Nobody can meet every single one of these criteria. It's just nobody has that much sheer will. And that's why, to me, the point of this poem was about the ideal of masculinity. It was 1910, so the idea of femininity as well is sort of, well, get as close as you can and you'll do okay. However, you know, it's almost like an ode to imposter syndrome, right? Of nobody really feels like they know how to adult. Back in 1910, Rudyard Kipling was struggling with this in If. Yes, so how did I get to Superman with this? Well, it was that examination, that thought about, let's go back to a better time regarding masculinity. And Superman is a much better known masculine archetype that is from a different time. We're still in the age of Batman, of, you know, be very violent, throw a lot of money around, brood, and drive everyone away. This is how you're a hero. Right. Whereas Superman, who was the first superhero, he's evolved since his origins in 1939. But he's definitely a callback to a different kind, pre-1980s masculinity. And I zero in on the 1980s because, I mean, that's when we got the Dark Knight Batman that persists to this day, that I really don't. I've outgrown. I'll say I've outgrown it. But Superman, I never outgrow Superman, and it's just I think the James Gunn trailer really encapsulated why. Because I mean, when we first see our hero, this is the first reveal of anything. He's knocked like in the snow. Right? He's bleeding, he's knocked down, and he needs his loyal doggo to save him. Like, what an awesome twist. And who knows if that's actually in the movie? Who knows if that's out of context? But we knew, like, they telegraphed that it was going to be a crypto-heavy trailer. But I was not prepared for how much crypto looked like my dog Loki that passed sometime again. I was pretty emotional about that. And for people who don't know, the movie comes out on my wedding anniversary. Superman imagery figured rather heavily in my wedding. My husband wore a Superman yarmulke, are rings that I can't wear anymore because my joints ache if I wear anything because the autoimmune. In the summer, I can do it. In the winter, sometimes in the winter, not so much, too achy. But they're Superman rings. So I am big on Superman. You see, I have an Alex Ross behind me. I have a Super Grover over here. I have Superman art here. Superman art. It's Justice League, okay? But I look at it all the time. Superman pogo stick. I put it there because it's the weirdest Superman shit I own. And Superman shit is different than Spider-Man shit, right? Spider-Man shit is simple as, kind of holding it all together. Just see, Spider-Man shit. Superman shit it's more about what you can take, what you can suck up, as opposed to how hard you can punch. And so I think that starting the trailer the way it did, shows to me that James Gunn understands and appreciates what Superman brings to the table and what a Superman movie for today needs to do to resonate with audiences. And the thing I like about this is, James Gunn is known for sort of goofy stuff. He's known as a comedy guy, but the further he goes on in his career, I mean, if you've seen Suicide Squad, it has a lot of emotional content. If you've seen Guardians 3, holy shit, right? And I think he's going to do that with Superman. The other thing I like is that there is very little Donner film in this trailer. He's rethinking it in some places. He's modernizing it in others. The modern interior of the Daily Planet made me very happy. It's okay that the exterior is still a throwback, because that's what those old newspaper buildings look like. The newspapers that are still in its original building, right? Because a lot of them aren't. I'm going, Toronto Star. The Star is doing better than some of the other newspapers in Toronto. For people who know, the Daily Planet is based on the Daily Star that is now the Toronto Star. Canadian boys. But Superman was obviously a product of the Great Depression, and the idea of, some people see him as the embodiment of the New Deal, the lifting up the regular people. And in order to lift up the regular people, he needs to understand them, hence Clark Kent. And the reimagining of Clark Kent, I think, is brilliant. It's so cool. I mean, the hair looks too dark in the trailer. And for Clark Kent, that's actually a master stroke, because Clark Kent started off as mild-mannered, right? The guy you don't see. And in our world of, social media, everything, and personal branding, who's the guy you don't see? That guy who looks like he might be a bit of an edgelord, right? So you see him, but you deliberately avoid him. And the messy, too dark hair is like, oh my God, he's the guy you imagine on the keyboard, right? And that is such a cool blending of the original mild-mannered ideal, just regular guy who doesn't stand out, and the more 80s klutzy kind of nerdy Clark Kent, 70s, that sort of came with the Christopher Reeve character. Brandon Routh did a really good Clark Kent too. I don't think he got enough credit for his Clark, because that movie overall was no good. And that's a good segue into the casting of Lois Lane is a litmus test for me in Superman trailers. In Superman movies, sorry. And the minute I heard Kate Bosworth was cast in the well, let's call it the Bryan Singer Superman, because it wasn't Brandon Routh's fault. He was a good Superman. But, Kate Bosworth is not Lois Lane. Similar with Amy Adams in the Cavill films. Amy Adams is a good actress. Her and Henry Cavill had no chemistry. But also, Lois Lane has a look, right? As far as I'm concerned, she needs to look like she could be Jewish. She could be a Shiksa. Siegel and Schuster. The Kryptonian names are kind of butchered Hebrew. So to me, Lois is, and Rachel, what's her name? Brosnahan? Yeah. with Mrs. Maisel, like, the actress isn't Jewish, but she's got that coding. So, like, that's perfect, right? Like, that, yes, that's what we want. It's not doing, what's her name? Margot Kidder? Yeah. From the Reeves films. We're not making the mistakes of the inter-Donner period, the Donner to Gunn period in between. So not repeating, and it's not Bitsy Tulloch from Superman and Lois, who was another excellent Lois Lane. But it looks like they're doing something a little different with her here. She's not quite as quirky, which, okay, I like. Because, the idea that there'd be a reporter who one of her quirks is lousy spelling in the era of spell check, that's not quite gonna work. And Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, please see juror number 2 if you want to get that. He's got this ability to be charming and then flip to chilling. And that's really, really important. It's not the Hackman Luthor, which Kevin Spacey was in the tradition of, and it's not the whatever the fuck Jesse Eisenberg was doing. I'd forgotten, I'd memory hold that Luthor until someone reminded me of it on the Discord the other day. But it's kind of like the closest I'm seeing is like Michael Rosenbaum's from Smallville. And before Superman and Lois, he was my favorite Luthor. Because I think it's important that in a Superman movie that we understand Lex Luthor's bitterness and motivation. What they did with him in Superman Lois for the very little time they had to use that character was great for that show. Really interesting rethink of the character. But to do a more classic Luthor, central to that is, they're going to have to be careful because if you make him a businessman, you're going to get all the MAGAs raging at you. And let's face it, DC needs everybody's money. But I think in order to do Luthor properly, you need to do the counterpoint of people who resent what Superman symbolizes, but also serve as a foil to Clark Kent, right? Because Clark Kent's trying not to be seen. So with all the Luthor Corp and everything on the buildings, Luthor's hyper visible, right? Which, good sign right there. I have a lot of hope for this movie, which I think that's, Superman's whole thing is hope. It's gone from truth, justice, and the American way to truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. And at first I was like, change. But then I'm like, you know what? Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow is more accurate to what Superman, going back to that sort of Depression era origin. It really was. Times are bad now, but tomorrow can be better. Not will be better, but can be better. That is the essence of Superman that I think Gunn does encapsulate without hitting you over the head with it. And that's the other thing I like about the trailer, right? If you are too, about the whole thing, then you're going to put people off. And I think that the movie, a Superman film, does not have the luxury of a TV series where, TV, you've got a lot more time to kind of tease out what's going on with, and if you haven't seen Superman and Lois, by the way, and you're a Superman fan, grab the DVDs because, hey, it's a Warner Brothers property. It'll get memory hold even though it was on the CW. It's a great show. Tyler Hoechlin is a great Superman and a great Smallville Clark Kent. And he's not the bumbler knocking things over Clark Kent. He's more chill. He's everyman. He's an assistant coach in Smallville. So he's the guy who's just always there and a really nice guy. Cool take on Superman. Watch that. They don't have the unpacking ability in a film. And so I get why they're going with the kinda, because again, right, if somebody's always knocking something over, what do people do now when someone does something embarrassing? Nowadays, shun, right? It's cringe, right? It's a cringe Clark. And I think, again, that's brilliant, because what do people do? They look away. They don't want to pay too much attention to what he's doing because it's just too sad, right? Brilliant commentary on the guys of today who need a male role model that isn't Lex fucking Luthor, right? There are different ways to be powerful. And I think if we're using D&D terminology, Superman is a character defined by his fortitude, not so much his strength. And the fact that they're going Rocky with the trailer, right call, James Gunn. I see you. Well freaking done. It's James Gunn. I can say well fucking done. I try to watch my language because it's Superman, right? He'd say, cheese it, right? He wouldn't swear. And are they going to have him swear? It would have to be very, very like, very, very sparingly, right? But then, like I said, they don't hit you over the head with the message. You have Crypto, who's adorable and just a dog. He looks a bit like a labradoodle kind of thing. Although my dog was just a really giant Chinese crested powder puff, but I kept his fur pretty short. We didn't do that stupid puffy. I don't. The bedroom slipper dogs, they're very cute when other people have them, but I wanted my dog to look more like, Crypto and Falcor the Luck Dragon, the Neverending Story. Anyway, I'm digressing. The trailer has a gee whiz cool factor that shows that, one, this is a springboard to a new DCU, complete with, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, but Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion. We got the Nathan Fillion quotient of the James Gunn film right in the trailer, right? The streak continues. Super cool. But what a perfect guy to be Guy Gardner. Because he can do it and still be likable. And he's got to get knocked out in one punch at some point. One Punch is this sort of DC moment. But perfect casting in Guy Gardner. Hawkgirl you don't see much of, but it looks cool. It's just she's there. Okay, good. Then, Mr. Terrific, I think there's a lot of potential for that character in the same way they usually use John Henry Iron Steel. But, Mr. Terrific is more of a science character. Well, he is now. And so you get that with, like, not everybody has superpowers. It's the same as superpowers, right? But the thing about Mr. Terrific, the modern Mr. Terrific, is he's really, really, really smart, right? So that's an interesting a juxtaposition with Superman. It shows, and this is very important so we don't get caught in the nerd boy trap. Pejorative intended. Hear me out. Keep your powder dry, okay? Um, it's very important that we don't get bogged down in a single paradigm of heroism. And that, because that is why people have a resentment to Superman, right? He really is very much that perfected guy in Superman. Not Clark Kent, but Superman, right? He can just always hold it together. You don't see him super losing his cool unless it's cheesy shit. Like, I hope they don't do the roar, angry, Superman. Leave it in Injustice. That's what it's there for. Leave it dead with the Suicide Squad game. Suicide Squad movie, good. Suicide Squad game, why? But I do think hopefully we'll get a bit of Luthor just being this guy, like, I did everything right, I made a lot of money, that's what men are supposed to do, and this cornbread flying dude shows up and everybody likes him. This wasn't what I was promised. That would be freaking brilliant, because that's what we're seeing with it. I went and I got the degree and I'm really smart, and why aren't I getting credit for being really smart? So if they do like genius tech innovator Luthor and then genius tech innovator Mr. Terrific, there's more to that character than that, but juxtaposing that could really, really work. But again, not hammering home the message. We've got robots. There was a whole debate on the server about whether that was Brainiac or Kellex. Well done, James Gunn, because that robot could be both, right? That is excellent robot ambivalence right there. Cool. But also, there's a freaking kaiju in the trailer. And in all the like Easter egg things of it's this, and here's all this stuff, and la la la. The engineer gets a thing there, but like kaiju, like what? Kaiju in Superman? Okay, and everybody's like, I'm interested, sure. And we know that James Gunn does like his kaijus. Starro in Suicide Squad. Please see that movie. It's really, really good. But yeah, kaiju made everybody go, it's still going to be a James Gunn film. There's still going to be some of that weird. There's still going to be some of that torquing, like the D-list superheroes, which is why I don't want to get too invested in the depictions of some of the smaller characters. Like, it could be a different Guy Gardner. I hope not, because he's sort of the peacemaker type character, right? But there's some others, like Metamorpho's credited. Could be a reimagining there, because Metamorpho's a freaking weird character, right up James Gunn's alley. There's a lot of potential for that. But kaiju. And I mean, he had to drop an amazing trailer. The pressure's on. And he did it. Which is Superman shit, right? Like that Spider-Man shit is just like barely holding it together all the time. Superman shit is, it tickles, bullets bouncing off, right? Like, everybody fuck James Gunn. He just let him complain, and then he just drops his trailer and the expectations were high and he just effortless home run, Babe Ruth shit, right? Like, just, it's out of the park. Expectations here, outcome here. Like, he just exceeded everybody's assumptions going in. And Bobby Calloway, of all people, put on the server, Superman fans are excited again, and it's like, yes, it is true. We have kept the torch going, and we have hope. We have hope for a better tomorrow. And it sucks, right? Because Henry Cavill did an all right job. Brandon Routh did a really good job. I mean, being able to take another crack at it. And what show was it? I forget. It was one of the CW shows. because he was the Atom on Legends of Tomorrow, but he got to do like an alternate universe Superman in one of those crossovers. Oh yeah, it was a big crossover. That's right. And he just reminded everybody, yeah, he was a good Superman in a shit movie, right? And you know, it's like, okay, this could be good, and not we'll watch around the rough bits to see, you know, Henry Cavill looking iconic. This is, it looks really, really great. And there's some gifs out there showing how different David Corenswet, is that how you pronounce his last name? Everybody has weird last names in this. It's perfect. But how different he looks as Superman and Clark Kent. You can totally believe that people would not know it's the same guy, because that jet black too dark hair looks super different when it's slicked back wet look than when it does all freaking everywhere like you're some Robert Smith impersonator, but you were late for work so you didn't put on the eyeliner. Right? The eyeliner would have been too much of a commitment. He's too insecure to go full cure, right? But he's like the kind of guy who might be like classic goth on weekends and then takes off the black nail polish for work kind of thing, you know? Just the guy you just don't want to think about because he's got a really weird anime porn stash. I mean, hentai Clark Kent, possible suspected hentai Clark Kent, I freaking love it. He thought about it. He sat down. James Gunn does what he does best. What are the component parts here? What is the essence of this? Now, how do I modernize it so it feels familiar and new at the same time? So good. Well done. Good job, man. Can't wait for the movie. And this is the last Manly Monday of 2024. You know what's coming. Came on and up, went on and up, right? I wanted to leave with something wholesome and feel good. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for something you use but can't afford it. Coffee.com/Leanna K. Game of the Year awards tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for watching. Manly Monday. See you in the new year.